We're going to jump to page 61 in grammar, 61. This page says learn it, but honestly, you already know this clause, the who, which clause. Hi, Liana. There you are. Good morning. 61 is where we're at. So you're already marking these in this book, and you already use who, which in your writing. So you're familiar with this clause. Today, we're going to talk about a new word that you can use in a who, which clause, and that word is whose. So it says a who, which clause can also begin with the word whose, the possessive case of who and which. So when whose begins a who, which clause, whose will not function as the subject of the clause because whose functions as a possessive adjective and shows ownership. So we're still going to mark it with parentheses and the W/W and all that, but it will not be the subject of the clause. You know how sometimes who or which is the subject? When you use whose, it's not going to be the subject. It's going to be another word in the sentence. This example right here, what they did was take two separate sentences and put them together into one sentence with whose. Originally, it said, Robin missed the mark and Robin's arrow broke. Those were the two separate sentences. Robin missed the mark and Robin's arrow broke. But they combined it with whose. So now it says Robin, whose arrow broke, missed the target. The clause is right here. Whose arrow broke. The verb is broke. And if you ask who or what broke, you'll ask what broke. His arrow broke. So the subject here is arrow. It is not whose. That's the adjective that's referring back to the subject on the other part of the sentence, which is Robin. Okay, we're talking about Robin. His arrow broke. Okay, that's how we're going to identify that. So here's another example down here. This just explains how we use the parentheses and all that. So this one says the men whose lands were taken hid in the forest. We have the who clause right here. It starts with whose. We're still going to label it W/W. The subject is lands because the verbs are were taken. And if you ask yourself what were taken, it's the lands that were taken. So that's the subject, okay? And notice there's no commas around it. That's because it's essential. Remember how we talked about essential and non-essential? So those who've had my class before, I use the brain and pinky analogy, right? Our brain is essential in our bodies, right? We will not survive without our brains. We just can't. We can survive without our pinky finger. It would be sad and I would miss it, but we can survive without it. Okay. It'd be a little hard to grab things. But that's how it is in these sentences. If it's essential, like you have to have it in order for the sentence to make sense, in order for it to live, okay, then you don't need commas. If it's non-essential, like your pinky, I don't really need it in the sentence, then you use commas. So here it's telling what men they're talking about. Otherwise, it would say the men hid in the forest. If it's just said that, you might think, well, who are we talking about? Which men are we talking about? Like all men are hiding in the forest? That doesn't make sense. This is telling exactly who they're talking about, whose lands were taken. Those are the men they're talking about. So because that's essential to understand the whole sentence, we don't use commas. Okay, that's the rule. And then we have a run-on sentence. We've talked about these before. A fused sentence is two main clauses placed in one sentence without any punctuation between them. This is a common type of run-on error. The easiest way to fix this error is to place a period at the end of each main clause. So they're going to forget the period on purpose for you guys, okay? So you're going to have to figure out where that extra period goes. The best way to do it is to identify the main clauses, and the way to do that is to find the subject-verb pairs. Every main clause has its own subject-verb pair. So once you find that and you find the main clauses, if they're back to back like this, see how there's Originally, there's nothing in between. We're just going to place a period in between. The men could not pay their taxes, period. They hid in the forest. So they is your subject. So it's a new subject verb pair. So it's two main clauses, and we just put a period between. Here's the pattern over here on the side. MC, which is main clause, period, MC, period. All right, any questions about that lesson today? You guys good? All right, good. We're going to go on to page 62. So Esther, I want to make sure you're looking at your book, not just the computer, okay? So I don't want you to be on the computer doing other stuff. We're on page 62. There's one more thing to talk about back here on your book. Swimming. Remember how we talked about how some words can function as different parts of speech depending on how it's used in the sentence? Swimming is one of them. You might think, oh, that's easy. That's an action. That's a verb. It is, but it can function as other things too. They can function as an adjective or a noun too, which is crazy. That's how English is. Here it is as a verb. Robin was swimming in the river. Obvious, right? It's what he's doing. He's swimming. We all know what that is. It has ing. It's an action. But what if you put it in this sentence as an adjective? Robin jumped into the swimming hole. It's telling what kind of hole it is. A swimming hole is like a natural pool in nature, okay? Where you can jump and swim around in it. So a swimming hole, that's used as an adjective. Even though it has ing, it's telling what kind of hole it is. And then if we see it here as a noun, jump down here. Swimming was Robin's favorite summer activity. So here it is an activity, it's a thing. Even though it has ing, that doesn't matter. It's an activity, it's a thing. So now it's a noun in this sentence. Swimming was Robin's favorite summer activity. So just because you see a word that has ing on it, don't automatically think it's a verb. Don't just put a V because you're like, oh, swimming, I know that. V. Because it's going to be used sometimes as different things. That's why when you sit down to do your homework, you should read your sentence out loud. That will help you identify that part of speech. All right. Let's jump over to the practice page. I see that thumbs up. Thank you, Liana. Esther, how about you read the sentence today?
Okay, there we go. Because of the desperate times, these men whose family were hungry stole money from corrupt noblemen. They gave it to the peasants.
Okay, good. So we've got corrupt. That's our vocabulary word. That is a word we hear a lot these days, especially as it relates to politics or people in power. But basically, corrupt means when there's dishonest practices going on, like lying or cheating or stealing, and sometimes even bribery, if you know what that means, giving somebody money so that they'll do something for you. So corrupt here is talking about the nobleman. It's going to be an adjective describing them. The noblemen were taking money away from the poor people, which were the peasants. But Robin Hood was trying to fix that, right? He was trying to take their money and give it back to the peasants to make things right. Okay. All right. Check vocabulary word. We've got two articles. Go ahead and find those. And I see you, Chloe. Good morning. We're on page 63 right now. How about Eliana? Where are the 6 nouns?
Um, Peasants,
Peasants. Good.
noblemen,
Yes.
families,
Yes.
money,
Yes.
times,
Times. Yes. There's one more.
men.
Very good. Nice. I like how you did it all in a random order. That's okay. Uh, two pronouns. Emma, where are the pronouns? Remember, these are going to take the place of a noun, so they're going to refer back to something else.
They.
Good. They is one.
Mm, Is it these?
These is actually going to function as an adjective because it's telling which men it is. So not these. There's one more that's going to refer back to the money. So there's a word later in the sentence that refers back to the
Oh,
money.
it?
There you go. That's it. It. Good. Well, I gave away one of the adjectives, which is these, because it's telling which men it is. So, Liana, where are the other three adjectives?
Um,
Think about words that are going to describe the nouns. So, like, look at times. What kind of times were they?
desperate,
Desperate. There you go. It's describing the times. What kind of noblemen were they?
corrupt,
Yes, corrupt. And then this one's not before the other noun, but what families are they talking about? What's a word to describe the families?
um,
It's after the noun this time, it's not before.
oh, be hungry or
Yeah, hungry. That's right. It's describing the families. Which families are they? They're the hungry families. It's a weird way to say it, but that's what it is. So you're going to look at those nouns, think of what describes these nouns, okay? You did good. I'm going to come back to prepositional phrases. So, Chloe, what about the who, which clause? I know you missed the lesson today, but do you see the who, which clause?
um,
It's actually going to be a different word than who or which, but it's close to it.
whose?
There you go. So today we learned that whose can also begin a who, which clause. So it starts with whose, and then where does the clause end?
Whose families were hungry?
Yes, good. So that has commas around it. Very good. And that just means it's non-essential, even though it is describing which men they're talking about whose families were hungry, but that part isn't as essential to understanding the whole sentence. So we put commas there. All right, and I'm going to come back to the main clauses because for me it helps seeing where the verbs and subjects are to help me find the main clauses. So Eliana. Actually, no, it's Esther's turn. Esther, where are the verbs? And then Eliana, I'll ask you for the subjects, okay?
Let me see.
David, are you
How many
working?
verbs
Yes.
there are?
Sort of figure it out.
Turn.
Stole? You
Good,
said
that's a verb. Yep, that's
stole.
one.
Um,
There's two more.
gave?
Yes, good. The other one's going to be a linking verb.
Um,
Linking a noun to another adjective.
noun to another. From?
Not from, that's actually going to be a preposition.
Oh,
Look in the who clause. It's got to have a verb in there too.
were.
There you go. That's it. So remember, every clause has its own verb, so that's good. Back to you, Eliana. What are the subjects that go with those verbs?
They or
They,
is that not gonna
yeah, they gave, yes.
be peasants? Is that correct?
Peasants, you already have a subject here, so they
Or,
gave. So look at the verbs, like look at stole. Who stole money from corrupt noblemen?
um, families?
No, the families didn't steal money.
Whose families?
Go before that who clause.
These men.
These men, there you go. So men goes with stole. And then here you were right with this one, were hungry. Who was it that were hungry?
Families.
There you go. So see how we did that? If you find the verbs first, if this is hard for anybody, look for the verbs and then ask who or what is doing those verbs. And it usually is behind it, like before it. Now we got our subject verb pairs. Notice we have one inside the who, which clause. Oops, I forgot to put W/W. So that one's already taken care of, but now we got to find the main clauses. So Emma, where do you think the two main clauses, they each have to have their own subject verb pair?
Can the who which clause be inside of a main clause?
Great question. Yes, it has to be because the subject verb is spread out in there. So yes, great question.
Is it these men stole money
These men, and then the who clause, stole money, but keep going till the end of the thought, basically. It's a complete thought.
from corrupt noblemen?
There you go. Now you got it. That's the thing about the main clause. It's like the main part of the sentence. So it's got to be like complete. Very good. And then where's the other one?
They gave it to the peasants.
Very good. Nice. Good job, Emma. So now that we know where those main clauses are, they're back to back. So we're missing punctuation right here. Chloe, I know you didn't hear the lesson, or no, let me have Liana do this one. So where does the two end marks go, Liana?
Um,
'Cause remember in the lesson today, if you have two main clauses back to back like this, you have to have something between it.
um,
So we need two periods somewhere in here. Do you know where the two periods go?
oh, peasants?
After peasants is one.
Because?
No, so we're looking for another spot for a period,
Oh,
and it's going to go in between the two main clauses.
they?
Yeah, so right here, it's going to go between noblemen and they. That should be a period. I know my marker is kind of thick right here, but so it should be two separate sentences. Good job. Oh, two end marks. So now that we have that figured out, how about Chloe? Do you see where the prepositional phrases are?
Of the desperate times.
It's actually going to be because of the desperate times. Whenever we have because of together, that's a preposition. Okay, good. That's one.
From corrupt noblemen.
Good. That's two.
Peasants.
To the peasants. Very good. That's three. I like to save those at the end if you struggle with those because then they're easy to find. Two openers. Now that we have two sentences, Esther, what are the two type of openers that we have?
The first one is the prepositional opener.
Yes, which is a number what?
I think,
Remember?
give me a sec. I think it's a number two.
It is a number two. That's right. Two. Prepositional. And then what about this sentence down here?
Um, is it a subject opener?
It is. Very good. And what number is that one?
That is one.
Good. Awesome. Nice job. I just wrote it down here because I'm out of room. So, and then we've got two capitals. You can do that by yourself. This is the beginning of both sentences. There we go. So, Chloe, I did record this. So if you need to go back and watch the grammar lesson later, you can, okay? But what we basically learned is that a who which clause can start with whose now, but it's never the subject of the clause. That's basically it in a nutshell. All right, you guys, we're done with the grammar lesson for today. Very good. And then let's look at your binders. You finished up Mike the Headless Chicken. What a crazy story that was. So I do have time for one student. I know I'm guessing a lot of people want to read theirs today because it was pretty fun to write about it, but I just only have time for one, unfortunately. I see a couple hands there. Um, Eliana and Esther. Let me see here. You guys both read last time, but you're the only volunteers today. So how about, oh man, it's hard to pick. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I think for today, I'm going to pick Eliana. There's no offense, Esther. We will have you do it next time, okay? And there will be a time like after the holidays where you guys can pick any story that you want to share. Um, and that will be fun. You can bring this back up again. Yes. So, Eliana, do you have it on your end or do you want me to pull it up?
I have it. I can do
Okay.
it.
Okay.
All right.
Whenever you're ready.
This is my version of Mike the Headless Chicken. On September 10th, 1945, two people were unaliving innocent chickens and processing them to take to the meat stop. Until one chicken, whose name was Mike, began to squirm. The first person, whose name was Lloyd Olson, miserably failed to make a clean cut with his axe. Mike then stood up, confronting Lloyd Olson with curiosity. Mike started to speak in his head. How am I still alive? Lloyd Olson, shaken with fear, shouted, the chicken is a zombie! Clara began to speak. No, I think we just ruined the cut. Well, what do you mean? Asked Lloyd Olson. Look, the brainstem is still intact, and so is Mike's ear. Does this mean, mumbled Lloyd, we have a living beheaded chicken? Shouted the two. Mike tried to crow in excitement as well, but it sounded gurgly and disturbing. Lloyd and Clara glared at Mike in disturbance. Mike didn't understand why the celebration had stopped. Well, why don't we take Mike around town and bet people we have a living headless chicken? Mumbled Clara. Sure, replied Lloyd. 18 months later, Mike was a star. Life magazine had published an article on Miracle Mike the Headless Chicken. The Olsons got the news. Mike, Lloyd, Clara excitedly mumbled. Yes, Lloyd and Mike turned their heads towards Clara. Mike is a star! Mike and Lloyd jumped up in excitement like angels descending to heaven. Mike, who was still headless, started dancing like no one cared. Come on now, we have a circus sideshow to get to, exclaimed Lloyd. A couple days later, they immediately guided Mike from California to Arizona. After the tour, they arrived at a hotel, which has beautiful suites to go to sleep. Well, we had a fun day today, didn't we? Asked Lloyd. Mike nodded because he agreed. They checked in at the hotel. Good night, Clara. Good night, Mike. Lloyd, Clara, and Mike snoozed off into dreamland until Mike smelled something delicious. What is that wonderful smell? Mike asked himself. He follows the amazing scent. Corn! Crowed Mike. Yummy! This is amazing! Which you thought he'd say if he hadn't noticed he wasn't breathing correctly. Uh-oh, Mike thought to himself. Lloyd and Clara jumped up and realized that Mike wasn't asleep. Cough, cough, cough. Lloyd and Clara rushed into the kitchen. Mike? Mike suddenly crowed. Tell my family I loved them. Mike fell
Aw.
onto the ground, which meant he suffocated. We need to help
Aw.
him, shouted Clara. Clara, Lloyd whispered. What? Clara angrily shouted with a whimpery voice. He's gone, Clara. I knew I shouldn't have left the corn on the counter, interrupted Clara. Get the syringe, shouted Clara once again, because she was super duper upset. A week had passed after that fateful day. They shortly went back to their farm after that, where they held Mike's funeral. This is why you don't trust humans with chickens, mumbled Jerry the goat. We should hold a rebellion against humans, shouted Bob the horse. All Clara and Lloyd heard were the animals making animal noises since they couldn't understand them. The priest began to speak. I know we all miss Mike, but everything loses eventually. How about we say a few words? The other farm animals glared at the humans while they mourned for Mike. Do you have any idea what's going on? Asked Sophie, Mike's sister. One day the Olsons decided to hold a celebration to pass on Mike's success. Everyone played games in honor of Mike, like pin the head on the chicken, throw eggs at the targets, that kind of stuff. Well, the Olsons tried to take care of Mike as much as they could, mentioned Sophie. Sophie turned her head slowly and spotted the Olsons with their axes. Well, if we made Mike headless and Sophie is his sister, why don't we make her headless too? Lloyd said
Whoa, whoa,
mysteriously.
whoa.
Lloyd asked with a Mysteriously spooky grin. Oh yeah, agreed Clara. Sophie plopped an egg with fear. The Olsens took her the Olsens look at her in disturbance. That's what I get for being a headless chicken, mentioned Ghost Mike the headless chicken.
All right, let's give her a clap in the camera. I mean, you totally went way off topic, but for this one assignment, I thought that was pretty creative. But this, you took it way over the top, Eliana. Was that fun to write? I could tell. Normally, and I think pretty much the other students did this, but normally this type of assignment is only about the facts, but it was hard not to give it personality and give it some information like that because it's such a weird story. So I liked it. Very good.
Yeah,
There are
I
lots of
think
great
it
dress ups in
reflected
there
the
too.
facts from the story and made it like a fun story too.
Yeah, yeah. So this next one, we're going to write about a person named Captain Cook, not Captain Hook. Captain Cook. That's what we're going to write about next. But we need to keep this one, Eliana, keep this one within the boundary of just informational, okay? But I loved that one. That was fun. Good job. So we're going to put away week 8, which was Mike the Headless Chicken. We're going to put it away now back in your binder. And when you're in the binder, we'll put this one actually in your finished binder or folder, wherever your finished stuff is. But while you're in the binder, before you get out week 9, I want you to check your blue page, your banned words page. This is behind the tab that says banned words. I want to check it. I don't have anything on mine because I keep it clean for my other students. But I want to make sure, do you guys have eat, ate, and go went on your list here? You do both of those? Okay, good. Just want to check on that. Good. All right, now go to the front, the source text tab, this one, and get out week 9. And it's going to be Captain Cook, like I said, week 9. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Okay, so go ahead and get out Captain Cook. Like I said, it's not Hook, it's Cook. We'll find out why. And you'll need a piece of lined paper. So go ahead and get out a piece of lined paper. Okay. That organized. Oops. Okay, I'll fix that later. Let's start with your line paper. We're going to set this up. You are summarizing a reference again for this assignment. So we're going to set up your keyword outline and go ahead and put your name here. And today's date is 11/20. Skip a line. This is going to be Captain Cook, not Hook. Yes, Eliana, do you have a question?
Um, never mind. I forgot.
Oh, okay. So we're going to skip a line. See how many we need this time. Okay, so we're going to do Roman numeral 1 and then 1 through 6. 6 is going to have parentheses because it's optional. If you need it, you can use it. If you don't need it, you don't have to use it. Okay. And then we're going to write that word clincher here. And again, topic up above in the margin like this. We're going to do that for Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3. So go ahead and fill it all in. If you need the back of your paper, you can use the back. All right. Thumbs up when your KWO is ready. Okay, good. I see that. You have yours ready, Eliana? Not yet? Okay, keep writing. I see that. So you might have peeked ahead, and that's okay if you did. The Captain Cook article is really long. I will forewarn you about that. Yeah, but you're going to turn something really long into only 3 paragraphs. And what we need to do is figure out what the possible topics are. So after you finish setting up your outline on this end, on this side, go ahead and turn your paper over to the back. And at the top of this, I want you to put possible topics. Now, we are still summarizing a reference. So that means we're taking one big article and we have to figure out what are the possible topics that we can have. Remember, we only need 3 topics. Topic, topic, topic. We need a topic for each paragraph. But this article is going to have way more than that. Well, at least more than that. And you have to narrow it down to what topics are you going to talk about in your paper. Okay, so the next step is going to be to read the article. So let's get that out next. It's long. Forewarning you. Yes, Esther?
Are we doing all 3 paragraphs this week?
I always have one student that wants to know ahead of time, huh? That's all right. I get it. Actually, no, I am only going to assign the first paragraph. So we're going to break this up into 2 weeks again. Actually, we're going to finish it up after Thanksgiving break. So yes, I'm going to go easy on you. Only 1 paragraph for your assignment. But we're going to go ahead and read it. I know you're like doing a little party dance. That's all right. I know. Life's busy right now. Super busy. Page 83. So what we're going to do is read this. Go ahead and just with a highlighter or with your pen or pencil, underline or highlight things that stand out to you about this guy, Captain Cook. Yes, I see that. That's good. So just so you have an idea of some facts that you can see in your first time reading it through, you might find other facts later when you go back and look at this. But for the first time through, you're like, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to highlight that. Oh, that's interesting. Just highlight the things that you think are interesting first, okay? And then we're going to label each paragraph on the margin like we did with Mike the Headless Chicken so that we can come up with our list of possible topics. So I'm going to start us off. First paragraph. I'll read so you can follow along. This is a real person, by the way. Born in 1728, James Cook was the son of a Scottish migrant farmer who had settled in Yorkshire, England. As a child, he had a sharp and curious mind, and his father was able to pay for schooling until the age of 12. After that, he worked on the farm with his father until he was 16. Then he was apprenticed to a shopkeeper near a harbor where he became familiar with ships and trade. So an apprentice means you work under somebody else and you learn their trade. Okay. So he was learning about the shop that he was working at, and it was close to a harbor where there's boats. Okay. And then this is back in 1728. So this is when they were trading goods across countries by ocean. At 18, he began working on North Sea trading ships, and by 21, he was rated able seaman. Sailing the dangerous and difficult waters of the North Sea provided superb practical experience, and he used his time on land helping to refit ships by day while studying algebra, trigonometry, and astronomy at night. So this guy was super good with his hands. He was repairing ships. He was interested in ships and nautical things that has to do with ocean and vessels like that. But he also was interested in math. I mean, I don't know if there's any math people in here, but he was really good at studying math. Hold on a second. I have somebody trying to come in. I'm trying to see just a second here. Oh, I think he's in the wrong class. Hold on. I gotta text his mom really quick. He jumped in the wrong class. Let's see. Sorry, hang on. Okay. So he's studying math and astronomy at night. So this guy is really smart. He's really good with his hands, but he's also studying because he wants to do other things. He was promoted to the rank of mate in 1752, and 3 years after that was offered command of a bark. The son of a poor farmhand had rapidly advanced and could have been a sea captain at the age of 27. So a bark is like in control of more than one ship. It's like a group of ships, basically, is what a bark is. So he just was so smart and he was dedicated and he studied hard and he worked hard. And the leaders in the area recognized that about him. And so they were like, hey, you're going to be a good leader. Let's promote you to this job or that job. All right. In the margin, this is basically telling a little bit about his early life as he was growing up and where he was working, where he was born, things like that. So we're going to call this top paragraph early life. And what I want you to do is actually draw a line between these paragraphs. See where it says although, that's going to be the next paragraph. So I'm just going to draw a line in between those two paragraphs here. Because this week, for your homework, you're going to focus on his early life. So you're just going to focus on that first paragraph as you do Roman numeral 1. But I want to continue reading so that we have it ready to go for when we come back after the breaks, okay? Let's go on here. If anybody has any questions, just let me know. Raise your hand or unmute. I'm going to start this paragraph, although he likely, and you guys are highlighting or underlining as we go here, okay? Although he likely would have found success and wealth as a merchant captain, in 1755 he volunteered as an able seaman in the British Navy, that's the military, which offered a more interesting career and opportunity for wider travel. So he was interested in traveling the world. So he joined the British Navy. His tall, commanding appearance, his meticulous attention to detail, and his sharp mind caught the eye of his superior officers. Within 2 years, he was rapidly promoted to master's mate, boatswain, and then to master. During the 7 Years' War between Britain and France, he saw action and took command of a captured ship. He was especially skilled at charting and map making, and after the war ended, he commanded a small, go ahead and turn it over, schooner. It's a type of ship, schooner, while surveying and mapping the coasts of Newfoundland. In 1766, he observed an eclipse of the sun and reported in detail to the Royal Society. This was an unusual thing for a non-commissioned officer to do. So he just took it upon himself to start paying attention to, remember, he studied astronomy, so he knew about stars and planets and how the Earth rotates and orbits and all that. So he was aware of that and he was learning that he can use that to help him know where he is out at sea. Because, you know, when you're out at sea, there's nothing to look at other than the stars and a lot of water. So this paragraph here, go back to the front page. We're going to call this skills. So we're starting to learn about what are some of Captain Cook's skills. So the first paragraph was early life. That's what you're focusing on this week, but we're going to continue on. This paragraph is talking about his skills, like what he was able to do. He was promoted and he knew how to capture a ship, like take control over the ship. He knew how to chart and make maps. All right, let's continue on the back of that page. The next paragraph here. In 17, oops, hold on, let me see if this will, big glare. In 1768, the Royal Society planned a scientific expedition to the Pacific Ocean, and James Cook was chosen to command the voyage. Commissioned as a lieutenant and given a sturdy merchant bark, the HMS Endeavour, he was instructed to transport scientists of the Royal Society to Tahiti so that they could observe the movement of Venus around the sun. Okay, let me pause there for a second. So you hear words like lieutenant and captain and boatswain, and these are all ranks, kind of like in the military. You know how you have the highest rank is like the general, and then you've got it going down. I don't know the order of them, but there's different labels for people at different parts of the military. It's like that when you're a seaman also. So when you're commanding a ship, and these are the different levels of officers, and he's in the Navy, so it's part of the military too. So they picked him to track Venus, which is a planet, because they knew he was interested in astronomy and he understood astronomy. Not very many people did back then, but he did. So they picked him to go and do that. Okay. But he's also transporting scientists, other scientists of Royal Society. So these people are from Britain. That's where the Royal Society was, from the Royal Navy. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. He would then proceed south to find Terra Australis, a southern continent that many natural philosophers thought must exist. After visiting Tahiti, he did sail southwest, but did not find a new continent. He eventually reached New Zealand, where he spent 6 months charting all the islands. There's a bunch, like hundreds of islands there. Then, crossing the Tasman Sea, he came to Australia and sailed north along its eastern coast, surveying and mapping as he went. After a couple of close calls with reefs and a stop for repairs, Cook headed across the Indian Ocean, around the southern tip of Africa, and back to England to end his first circumnavigation of the globe in 1771. That word, you probably hear like circumference of a circle. So circumnavigation means he went all the way around the world to chart islands and, map out things. Okay, so this was his first voyage. That's what we're going to call this big paragraph here on the side. First voyage. There's a lot to take in. I know it's a lot of information, all right? This top part was part of the paragraph before that we labeled skills. All right, so we're going to keep going. That's the big paragraph. I'm on page 84. Big paragraph is called First Voyage. One of the problems 18th century sailors faced was the danger of diseases, among them scurvy, a nutritional deficiency which could kill men on long voyages. So scurvy was a disease that they I think it has to do with like your respiratory system. When you're in a cold, damp place and you can't get warm or dry, your body gets sick. I don't know if you guys knew that, but it was really hard to keep soldiers and men healthy because of that. Yes, Esther.
Scurvy is a lack of vitamin C.
Okay. That makes sense too, because they probably didn't have a lot of vitamins on their ship. So, let's see, where was I? But none of Cook's men suffered from that disease because of his meticulous planning. So basically, he knew that, Esther. That's a good point. So he knew how to plan for that. He kept his ship clean. That's important, keeping rid of germs, getting rid of germs, and well ventilated, meaning that air was circulating in there, it wasn't stagnant or stale, and insisted that they include in their diets cress, sauerkraut, and orange extract. And these things provided those types of vitamins, the vitamin C and other vitamins that they needed in their diet to keep them healthy. Because like I said, they didn't have vitamins like they do now. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Upon his return, he became well known not only for his explorations and discoveries, but also because of his excellent health of his crew. His crew stayed healthy. That was unusual. So I'm going to put skills on this one. I know we already have a paragraph that's called skills, but this one is also talking about his skills. So when you go, if you decide to use that as one of your topics later, you can use this paragraph as well. So some of these topics are going to be the same. Some of them are different. I'm going to pause here for a second. Go back to the back of your check your keyword outline. Go to the back of it again where we have possible topics. We need to start listing these. So the first one was early life. And then we had skills. We have 2 paragraphs for skills. So we're just going to leave it like that, skills. And then the other one was first voyage.
I'm Holly.
Okay. So early life is going to be what we're going to use for Roman numeral 1. So I'm just going to put a Roman numeral 1 next to that just to remind myself. I'm going to just use early life to start out. Anytime you're writing a paper about a person, this is the place to start. Like when they were born, where they were born, what was their life like, to give an introduction of who we're talking about. All right, so let's go on to the next page, which is page 85. Promoted to the rank of commander. That's pretty high. So each time he promotes, he's leveling up, right? In his place in the list of leaders. He planned another more ambitious voyage in 1772, this time with 2 ships, the Resolution and the Adventurer. Those are the names of the ships. He sailed to the east, rounding Africa and passing south near Antarctica to then explore the southern Pacific Islands. He charted Tonga and Easter Island and discovered New Caledonia and South Sandwich Islands. He again confirmed that there was no other Pacific continent than Australia, and then headed up the east coast to South America and home to England in 1775, ending his second voyage around the world. I'm going to show you a map of where he went in a minute, but this is his second voyage. So let's call this one second voyage. Okay, he already had his first voyage. We already know a little bit about his skills. Now he's moving on to his second voyage. Each voyage he's leveling up in his command. Okay, and then the next paragraph. Once again, he returned with his crew in excellent health. He was finally promoted to the rank of captain. That's the highest for these ships. He was also elected to the Royal Society, where he presented a paper about his success in preventing scurvy and consequently was awarded one of the highest honors. This is again talking about his skills. So just to keep it consistent, let's put skills here. This is talking about his skills again a little bit more. and how he got promoted. I know it's a lot to take in. It's a long article, so I'm going to keep going, okay? Page 85. In July 1776, he set off again with the ships Resolution and the Discovery this time. The goal of this voyage was to determine if there was a northwest passage that would allow sea travel between the Atlantic and the Pacific. He took the eastern route around Africa, passed by New Zealand a third time, and headed north, thereby discovering Hawaii, which he named the Sandwich Islands in honor of the Earl of Sandwich, the first Lord of the Admiralty. That's for the British Navy. Some research indicates that Cook's arrival on the Big Island of Hawaii happened during a time when the natives were worshiping the Polynesian god Lono. All right. This is his third voyage. So it kind of reminds me of like Christopher Columbus, people in our history who actually just went out into the ocean to discover what's out there. What lands do we have? What islands do we have? Where is everything? All right, we're almost done. Flip it over to the back. This is page 86. So now he's on the island of Hawaii and they're worshiping these gods. Possibly the shape of the ship resembled certain objects included in Lono worship. It was thought because of this that the natives treated him with great reverence, perhaps even imagining him to be an incarnation of Lono himself. So they saw his ship and they're like, whoa, this guy has to be one of the gods, little g gods, not big G God, right? These are islanders. And so they're thinking he's somebody important, right? His third voyage continued along the coast of North America, where he explored and mapped the coast from California to the Bering Strait at the tip of Northwest Alaska. This is still part of his third voyage. So let's call this one third voyage again. Okay, because we already have a paragraph about it, but this is a little bit more about that. This is where it gets really interesting, all right? The next paragraph starts with he then. He then returned to Hawaii, where he met to his end in 1779, means this is where he died, okay? When some natives stole one of Cook's small boats, he planned to take the chief of Hawaii hostage until his stolen property was returned. However, there arose a confrontation with a crowd of natives, and in the chaos, some shots were fired. But the Hawaiians attacked with knives, spears, and stones. The British soldiers retreated to the beach, but when Cook turned his back to launch a boat, he was hit on the head and then stabbed to death. Cook was not seen alive again, and it is believed by some that according to custom, the islanders, okay, this gets kind of gross, cut the flesh from his body and roasted it, cleaning and preserving the bones as honored relics. Later, some of his remains were returned to the British, who gave him a formal burial at sea. Okay, it's kind of gross, but this is cannibalism. Remember, this is 1700s. I'm really glad we don't live in those years, right? So yeah, this is and remember they're islanders. So they're I don't know if you've ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean. It reminds me of the scene, I think it's like the third one, where he's like stuck on this island and he's running away from the natives and they've got like, marks on their face and stuff and they're chasing after him and they're cannibals, right? I don't know if you've seen that, but it reminds me of that scene. Eliana?
What's cannibalism?
All right, good question. Cannibalism is when a person, or actually, let me say it like this, any living thing eats its own kind. So it does happen with animals, But with people, it in the 1700s, it was a thing on the island, so they were eating people. Yeah, that's cannibalism, eating their own kind. I know.
They eat their other natives?
Yes. Well, he was
That's
not,
scary.
well, yeah, it's scary. It's not, obviously, it's illegal now. Can't do it
I'm
now.
glad it's illegal now.
Yes, me too. So
It's
remember, Captain Cook,
disgusting.
I know it's disgusting. So Captain Cook was not a native. So he was on their territory, and that's something they believed that it was okay to, eat people, which it's not, definitely not. But it happens in the animal kingdom too. I don't know if you know that about praying mantis. They eat their own kind. That would be considered cannibalism, but for an animal, it's a little bit different, right? All right, let's keep going. Let me check the time. Ooh, we're out of time. This one is going to be called death. Pretty bad death, by the way.
Just devouring his insides. That's
Ugh,
disgusting.
very disgusting. I'm going to call this last paragraph
How,
legacy because we're out
how
of
do people
time.
do that?
I
So
know.
disgusting.
It's disgusting and it's shocking. And if you've never heard that before, you can talk to your parents about what that is, cannibalism. But it is a real thing in history. Um, and that is what happened during this time. They did that. They roasted him. Disgusting. All right. I put the last one here, legacy, even though we didn't really have time to finish this last paragraph yet. But go ahead and add those really quick. I know we're out of time, but add those to your possible topics here. We have the second voyage, third voyage, and we had death. There's a lot of topics here. And then legacy. That means what happened after he died? Like, what did he leave behind? So, a lot of topics. Make sure you write these down. Now, this week, you're only focusing on early life. It's going to be pretty easy. If you need information from skills, you can grab some stuff from there if you need more information in your outline. But you're just going to focus on your first paragraph. All right. So we got early life, skills, first voyage, second voyage, third voyage, death, legacy. So you're going to focus on, let's just draw a line here in our outline too. Just do Roman numeral 1. Do not worry about 2 and 3. We're going to leave that for next time. This is going to be about Captain Cook's early life. So I'm going to put CC for Captain Cook, early life, and then a blank here. I know some of you have to go, so if you have to leave, that's okay. I'm just finishing up this lesson. Focus on his early life. You need 5 facts. 6, you can use 6 if you need it. Any questions about your homework? 1 paragraph. And then I won't see you for a while because I have that convention to go to after Thanksgiving break. So you're going to be watching a video during that week in 2 weeks. And then I'll see you the week after that. Okay, you guys? Good job today. All right. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Bye, Eliana.